Hello, my loves, and welcome back. I'm going to be continuing my Rainbow Talks series today, and today's topic is the second chakra, which is the sacral chakra. And as I knew that I was going to be doing this video after the root chakra one, which was so much fun doing and just talking and telling a little bit about my own story as well, I started a very intense process of healing my sacral chakra. Surprise, surprise! Which has been interesting, and it's been going on for a week or so, maybe even two. And so, yeah, I'm gonna talk a little bit about what has been coming up for me and related to sacral chakra and trusting and having faith that it might resonate with you as well. And there will be some codes, some information there for you as well. Okay, but before we get started, I would love to just take a little moment to just come to this space and just take 3 cycles of breath in together and tune into your sacral chakra. So if you're new to the chakras or the energy systems of the body, the sacral chakra is the one that is at like the lower part of your abdomen. It is your center of creativity, your sexuality, and also your emotions. So yes, very, very important. And this is the same for men and women. You don't have to have like a womb space, but of course the sacral chakra is very much associated with the womb space and, you know, creating children, but also creating projects and art and magic of all kinds. So yeah, let's take a little moment to tune in. So I'd like to ask for you to close your eyes. And just if you want to place your hands on your lower abdomen, on your sacral chakra, please feel free to do so and send some loving touch to that area. And let's just start taking in a deep breath in through our nose, and out through our mouth, in through our nose, and out through our mouths. And one more cycle at your own pace. All right. So happy that you're here, and yeah, excited to share what's been coming up for me. Actually, I felt very nervous about making this video, and I almost felt like there was this delay that was happening, which is interesting because my work is co-created with spirit and it's channeled, so I don't get to decide when it's time to do things. I mean, I do, but I've also made a commitment to show up when it is time to do these things. So yeah, it was very interesting what emotions started coming up, and it is very much linked to the sacral chakra. So yeah, for me, I've always kind of considered the sacral chakra, and when I've tuned in to my womb space, my sacral chakra space, it's always been this like kind of like this creative energy and also sexual energy. But this last week and a half, 2 weeks, it really hit me that it is also to do with our emotions and our internal waters. And as someone who has not always been very much in touch with her emotions, or now after doing a lot of meditation and shadow work as well, the last shadow work session I did for myself was this morning, and there was this shadow that came up that in Finnish the word is välinpitämätön, which means someone who is indifferent, someone who kind of like doesn't care. And this has been a shadow aspect because I've always highly valued people who are very caring and very nurturing. So for me to be seen as someone who does not care, even now it's bringing up this like like, oh my gosh, like I would never want someone to think that way of me. But as I went deep into the shadow meditation, I was really met with my inner teenager who very much shut all of her emotions out. And now as I say this, I get emotional because the pain is still coming up from that. And I realized it was because it was just too much for my nervous system, all the things that were going on. And my kind of like security mechanism was to then shut off all the emotions and pretend like I didn't care. And that showed up in with regards to like my relationships, in regards to my friendships. And of course it's normal for a teenager to have this kind of like aloof, cool girl vibe, but I think I took that like a step further and just, yeah, like kind of iced myself in a way. And it was interesting to start unpacking that ice during this week and really allowing myself to feel the pent-up emotions that I just didn't have the capacity to feel when I was younger. And yeah, there was a little backlog. So we've been crying, we've been feeling, we've been releasing, and it's been really beautiful. And as a result of that, I feel like a lot of creative energy has surged up. And I maybe if you've had energy work done or any like womb healings or things like that related to your chakra energy healing done, you will feel an intense surge of energy. And yeah, it's been a mixed bag, honestly. There's been like anger, there's been grief, there's been disappointment, guilt, and shame. And it's been really good to move my body. I've been dancing a lot. I've been going for a lot of nature walks, and I feel like that way I'm able to move the energy from my body, move the emotions from my body so that they are not stuck there still. So that now that they're finally come to the surface, they also need to be released in like a way that feels nourishing and feels refreshing. Like the energy is really shifting. And yeah, it feels like a emotional spring cleaning has been happening, which is great. But also it takes a lot of energy. So I've been sleeping a lot and been very hungry as well. So if you are in the process of doing any kind of emotional work, make sure that you are nourishing yourself with sleep and nutrition and exercise when it comes to the sacral chakra. Very, very important. And then another very interesting thing, cycling back to when I was talking about like kind of like putting this pressure on myself. What I realized with the like digging into the energy of the sacral chakra is that like kind of the shadow aspect of the chakra, the light aspect being like you feel really juicy, you feel really creative, you feel really turned on by life, you feel really like free to express yourself creatively, sexually, like a really beautiful, vibrant, radiant energy. And then when the sacral chakra is blocked, you feel often feelings of shame and guilt. So those are kind of like what I understand the shadow aspects of this chakra. And yeah, so I started noticing, I guess they were always there, but I just wasn't tuned into the chakra. So these past few weeks, I noticed a lot of feelings of guilt. And I was a little bit shocked, honestly, because yeah, I just didn't expect it. I thought I'd like cleared a lot of shame. I've done a lot of energy work, like a lot. So it was very interesting to be met with this sudden guilt and shame energy. And what I also started to like understand and read up on the sacral chakra is like when we deny ourselves, that's when we start to experience shame and guilt. And there are things to be said about like healthy sexual energy where, you know, there's an aspect of having mastery over our impulses and urges and feelings. But then there's also like taking that almost too far where you deny yourself of having needs, of having wants and having desires. And as I dove deep into this, I really realized how much I denied myself things. And then on the flip side, how guilty I would feel about wanting those things that I deemed unworthy to want or need. So it's been a very interesting exploration. And when we deny, this is my experience, as I've denied these things that I want in terms of like relationships and dating, even work-wise and love-wise, they come out another way. They find a way. So there's no hiding these things. They will come out, but they will come out in like manipulative ways. They will come out in like a little bit sneaky ways. So then I started to realize that, okay, there are a lot of needs and wants and desires that I'm not allowing myself to meet. So then what I realized is they kind of moved from being desires and wants and needs to being expectations. So instead of owning them, I kind of place these things on other people. And I am not proud to say this, but for the sake of honesty and transparency, that is the truth. And I would also invite you to contemplate this because it is very, very interesting. So then, being the little mystic explorer that I am, I was like, okay, well, let's see what expectations I have then. And I started writing down expectations, what I had expectations for myself in terms of like my appearance, my like work, how I show up, also relationships, romantic relationships, and it was a whole can of worms. A whole can of worms that opened up, and I was like, wow, okay. So subconsciously, this is how I've been operating, and I've been putting a lot of expectations on a lot of people and also myself. So it was a very beautiful yet humbling moment to like sit and really look at all these expectations that I had. And most of them were coming from like very wounded parts of myself that didn't feel like I was enough as I am, that I wasn't being productive enough. So they were linked to this guilt. And then I was like, wow, no wonder my sacral chakra and my creativity and sexual energy has felt a little bit foggy and blocked lately. And as I started clearing the expectations that were kind of covered in this like mucky guilt, and then there was like the denial as well, and then there were the emotions like of, you know, not feeling good enough or feeling reject or being scared of rejection, or yeah, just these like very wounded parts of myself that then like lived underneath this. And as I started digging, just more things came up, and it was a very interesting exploration. And I say this because it's been very beautiful as well. I feel like I've gotten to know myself in very new ways, and I've been doing this self-exploration journey for, I would say, like every day for almost the past 4 to 5 years. So I was like, yeah, I know myself, but I really met myself in a different way, and I'm super, super grateful for that, because I could then go and see those wounded parts of myself and offer them love. And a lot of that stuff was my inner teenager and my inner child that needed to be reassured, that needed to feel like they belong and that they're loved, and that honestly that there's space for what they want and need. And yeah, and I realized with this work that there was this underlying story that I had, that my feelings were too much, and also that my needs, wants, and desires were too much. And I understand that from the perspective of like having two parents who worked most of my childhood. They were pretty young when they had me. They didn't have a lot of resources. So then for a little child to be like, I want this and I want that, them then coming from their own guilt of maybe not being able to provide everything a child wants, and also everything a child wants maybe the child does not need to get, but there is like a conversation that can be had about needs and wants and desires, and that conversation doesn't need to be like what you ask for is too much. There is nuance to it, which I now as an adult know, and which we all do, most of us do. So yeah, it was really powerful to go back and tell my inner child and be like, you know what, your needs are not too much and there is space. And instead of kind of having these secret expectations for other people to then hold space for me and to fulfill my needs, especially I had a lot of expectations in terms of dating and relationships of like wanting a man who's going to be emotionally available for me and to be able to support me, and this like provider man. And I noticed like while I still desire that thing, now it's not coming from a place of me expecting it because a part of me is wounded. It's coming from a place of I desire this for my highest good. And I've noticed that there's a big shift when the energy switches from it coming from a wounded place, from it coming from a healed and empowered place of this is what actually would like really feel nice for me and would allow me to feel more free and creative, to have a loving and supportive partner. So a little exploration, if you feel like it, very interesting to journal on your expectations. Yes. And I don't want to villainize expectations, and but also I do want to kind of be realistic that they do create most of our suffering and heartache, because honestly I feel like they're misunderstood. They are kind of these little hooks that we have energetically to situations, people, scenarios, because we're not being honest about our real needs and desires and wants. Yes. That's what's been very present for me this week. So that is why, as a conclusion to this story time, it is super important, and I've done this practice actually for a couple of years now, where I every day will journal my needs, wants, and desires, and then I will also journal how can I most easily get them, and then I will also journal what is blocking me from getting these things. And then I will journal like a little to-do list for myself for the day, because as an entrepreneur and having my own business, like if I don't do stuff, nothing gets done. So this has been like a beautiful way for me to mobilize myself and also kind of show up for myself every day of like, I'm here to meet my needs. But as I did this whole sacral chakra journey this past week and a half, I kind of got a new layer to this, which was very interesting. I first of all understood that, you know, as much as our bodies have needs and wants like food and sleep and sex and affection, so does our mind and so does our soul. And it was a beautiful exercise, and I highly recommend this if you have time this weekend to journal the needs, wants, and desires of your body, of your mind, and of your soul. And just to see what comes up. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. And then another layer that came to me, and I'll put these journal prompts that I do in the little description. So if you want to do this as well, it's very fun to do, and it does open up a lot. I feel like I get so much done when I'm in this energy, and now with this little tweak as well. So I also kind of thought that the sacral chakra healing would be a lot to do with my inner feminine, but I've realized that I had to have a lot of healing of my inner masculine energy this week, because with the emotional kind of blockages that I've had, I have kind of put this expectation on myself that I need to hold space for other people's emotions, because that is actually what I desire for myself. So you can see that, like, the little, you know, twisted slight manipulation that I've been having, because then I've had the belief that if I hold space for other people's emotions, they will do the same for me, and therefore I will get my needs met. Which has kind of worked, but also like I could just acknowledge that I want people to hold space for me and ask for that. But that was unheard of until now. But you know, we live and we learn. So yeah, then I realized that a lot of my masculine energy, my drive and ambition, and my life force energy, I use it to, and have used it to, hold space for other people. And my masculine energy has been in constant service to the wounded feminine energy within myself, and for other people as well. And when I realized this, it was like, because I've had moments where I'm like, I don't know where like my energy goes. I don't know why I feel like I can't get stuff done, or there's just this like kind of like a disconnect. And when I realized this, how that part of me is, you know, completely drained because he's holding space. And also, like, that's not even what he does best. Like, love men, but are they, you know, primed for holding emotional space? Not necessarily. Some men are, and some men do it amazingly, but it is often like the feminine within us, in men and women, that is, you know, more skilled in doing this. So I've had to have a little internal restructure of how I organize my energy coins and how I use my energy. And now with the journaling prompt, getting back to that, so I will journal my needs, wants, and desires, and then I will hand that over to my divine masculine, my ambition, my drive, you know, the part of me that gets shit done. And I let him, that part of me, get it done. And so far, it feels very good. It feels like there's kind of that, like, this beautiful union happening inside of me. And I have been, for a long time, manifesting and bringing in and praying for a sacred union, and lo and behold, I'm like starting to get that internally in different ways that I hadn't previously experienced. So it's been a very beautiful, like, relationship that's forming, like a new relationship between my feminine and my masculine. And yeah, and all this kind of internal process started from just exploring this like one energy center within myself, which is so cool and magical, and I'm so grateful for this journey. Yeah, so yes, honor your emotions and your needs and wants and desires, because our emotions really are like this divine compass. It's not like we need to get attached to anger or sadness or grief or joy or happiness. Like, we can allow them to pass like clouds in meditation and notice that they are not permanent states, but there's like a flow to them. But taking the messages, taking the signs from those emotions, because when we push them down or we're like, no, I don't feel angry, I don't feel sad, you miss the intuitive messages that lie beneath those emotions. Or not even intuitive, just information, very important information about yourself. So yeah, I would very much love to invite you to do a little bit of journaling if you made it this far, and just take a little deep dive into your own needs, wants, and desires and emotions, and see what comes from that, because it is really interesting what starts popping up. And I'm actually in the process of doing like a big creative project, and which has been a long time coming, like a long time. I'll share more about it later, but it feels very exciting, and I've tried like different iterations of it, but I have not really like fully allowed myself, because I had a lot of doubt, I had a lot of expectations too. Now I'm really coming to realize of like how it should look like and how the process is gonna go. And the more I kind of just surrender to the joy of creating, the better it's starting to feel. And I would love to close off with, I picked a little card for this. It's not a reading, it's a talk, it's a transmission, I would say. So yeah, I have this really cute unicorn deck. If you listen to my other things, I love unicorns. They are very much present in my life all the time, and I have a deep connection with them. So yeah, this deck found me at a little flea market, and I pulled a card for us today, and it even has a rainbow, of course. And the card is believe in yourself. And it says, see yourself doing well, and you will. Okay, that's it. Sending you so much love, and just trust and belief and faith in yourself and the universe. Okay. Have a beautiful rest of the week. Bye.